Hello, y'all. Welcome back to Irene's Ministry channel. And I am promoting health and fitness, y'all, by being on this exercise bike. And I'm moving in slow motion, not going too fast. Don't want to make a bunch of noise during this video. However, I went through a lot with my health over the past few years, and I'm getting it back on track, y'all. Yay! My blood pressure's back down to pretty much normal. So, and I know that because I checked it yesterday. And I want the same for you. And the way I managed to do it was by losing 18 pounds and walking and exercising. So this video is going to be about, can you take it? And what I mean by this is, I thought of this over the past couple of days because through life, people will make comments. They will judge you. They will see you back out of situations. They will see you not enter into situations or circumstances. They will see you not buy that $1 million house. And it could be because you don't have the money also. However, a lot of people don't do it because they don't want the burden and the debt and the financial burdens of those situations because they can't take it. I mean, you got millionaires that just go buy them a tiny house because they don't want the responsibility of the house. So this is what we have to learn. You have to base your life on what you can take. And one of my weaknesses, and it's not a weakness, I'm not going to call it a weakness, I'm actually going to call this a strength. One of the things that I find it hard to take and have never been able to adjust to these type of situations is violence in the home. Ongoing violence, out of control violence. Being in domestic violence relationships. You can be in domestic violence relationships with your own children because it's all about what your adult children and teenage children and what they want to do too. You know, not everybody is striving for a goal of a non-violent home. They're not. And so what happens is, you know, there's this area where because you can't take it and you shouldn't be taking it, you're strict in this area. So what I found throughout my life, because I went through circumstances and there had been violence in my home. I mean, how can you be a prior domestic violence victim if there was never no violence in the home? And I mean, violence in the home, there are also violent incidents. And violence can come in many different ways, like isolated incidents of violence. So if you're in a marriage, whether you be the husband or the wife, I mean, men are abused also. But I mean, your spouse is punching you in your chest, hitting you in your head, knocking you down on the floor. And I mean, this can be going on and you're not even elderly. They're screaming and hollering at you. They refuse to contribute to the house. You know, a lot of times we underestimate that form of passive aggressive violence. You know, I had a brother tell me that we were talking about a situation, and at times I could say, okay, he was a little narcissistic, but he probably could say the same thing about me for real. But he mentioned that basically the silent treatment, in so many words, is a form of violence. And I thought that his perspective was interesting because it makes you look at violence a lot different. And a lot of times I'll say this, that's the first step. A lot of times before somebody hits you or does something to you, they're on shutdown. They're not talking to you much. They're looking at you weird and looking at you crazy and stuff like that. So the thing is, can you take it? So I find that I have a standard, and one of my standards is, I mean, if that's what you're offering, whether you be a son, nephew, niece, spouse, good neighbor, if I allow you in my home and you're knocking stuff down, cussing people out, starting fights, and this is what you do on a consistent basis. Because remember, abusers are very consistent. They're not inconsistent. Yes, they may stop the physical violence for a while, but they still start it back up. So they're still being consistent because their on and off pattern is the consistency. And so what happens is you're going to be called a lot of things, like, because people, when you can't take this and you shouldn't be taking it, you're going to be talked about and judged. A lot of times if somebody was acting up in the home or they was going off and just totally disrespecting the home that you work for, whether you're renting or buying the home. I mean, you don't have to be paying on a mortgage. I mean, you could be staying with your mother. You could be staying with other relatives. If you go stay with other relatives and y'all decide to work together as a team to pay the rent or the mortgage, you're not going to be going in there getting violent with your mother or father or your aunt and uncle, whoever lets you move in. And I found that a lot of people, this is what they do, not just in my life and in the life of others. And to be honest, some people think they have a right to do it because they are paying all the bills. Well, I'm the man or I'm the woman and I'm paying all the bills, so I get to do whatever I want to you. And it's a very toxic attitude. But what I've learned with my life is that I wasn't able to take it. Okay? Signs that you can't take it. You end up in jail. Defending yourself or fighting back. Signs that you can't take it. You're trembling and shaking. You're not getting your chores done. You have anxiety. You develop mild depression, major depression. Your moods begin to change. You're no longer interested in outside activities. You're not accepting the calls when your relatives call you. Things like that. You just can't take it. Some people can't take very long phone conversations. I've been around people that they don't talk on the phone. If you ain't around them in person, they don't talk on the phone because they can't handle it. Some of them don't know how to carry a phone conversation. I could talk on the phone and talk for 8 hours, y'all, if I'm alert and awake. If I'm tired, I can't really do it like that, but especially if it's somebody I love. So that's what's happened in my life, and a lot of times people are going to see you back out of situations because you just can't take it. You can't take that heavy custody battle. You can't take these supervised visits with these kids. Whatever your trial and tribulation is, you just can't take it. You can't take the grandmother or grandfather of your grandkids threatening your life and talking to you crazy. You can't take it. You don't want to have nothing to do with these people. So, and you can't take your big cousin that's your caregiver, not taking care of you properly. So now you got bed sores. So now you got to go to an outside agency to get help because you just can't take this. You want to be clean and healthy. There's a lot of different circumstances people will be in, but I find what has happened in my life when I couldn't take something, you get that message through Messenger. Oh, you're an a-hole. I prefer not to use the profanity. However, that's what they're going to call you because you can't take what they ditching out. And so you get out the situation. Somebody, and you got these narcissistic, thinking they have a right to do this to you. But I'm going to be honest with you. If I went in somebody's house and I got violent with them, I don't care if I just did it one time. I went up in your house and slapped you in your face, and you still talk to me even if you didn't let me back in your house no more, I would think you was a good person. But see, narcissists, they don't look at it like that. They don't see the good in you. Like, okay, I might not can go in his or her house no more because I was violent, because they're not going to take the accountability for the violence. They're going to say it's your fault. Every abuser that I've ever dealt with, whether they was a son, daughter, spouse, I had a pretty good relationship with like cousins and stuff like that. But anybody that it's a lot of times it's immediate relatives, y'all. You know, some of y'all, you're gonna find that you get along better with your coworkers, your cousins, and your neighbors. Because see, immediate relatives, they have more access to you too. And they like to show they behind. Because what happens in those relationships is they take you for granted. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. You have a lot of estranged relatives, especially adult children, and they'll go 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, and they do not talk to their parents. They totally cut their parents off. Don't let their parents know why or nothing. And then they come back 2 to 5 years later, sometimes 10, talking about, Mom and Dad, can I come move in? But they don't speak to you. They don't talk to you. They were actually a full-blown estranged relative. And then what happens in a lot of those situations is they really feel that you're supposed to let them move in. And you're like, well, you don't even call me. I don't hear from you. And a lot of times you don't let these people in because when a relative has been estranged from you, even though it's your own adult son or daughter, if they ain't talked to you in 5 or 10 years, you don't know what they into. They could be shooting up heroin now. Now you let them in your house and they done robbed you or assaulted you. So don't feel bad. I mean, if you can't take it, you can't take it. And narcissistic people, they not gonna care that you can't take it. They see you can't take it. They see, because when they're doing these things to you, they can see the anxiety and things that you're going through. I mean, it could be something as simple as your dishes are piling up in the kitchen. How you gonna do those dishes or get your place together when there's all this violence on and off in the home? And so just really keep that in mind, that it's okay not to take these situations. You know, a lot of times you feel guilty, you feel bad. But at the same time, there's one place that you should be allowed peace at all times, no matter what. And that place, definitely one of those places that you should always be at peace or allowed peace 99.9% of the time is your residence. Whether you're renting or you own it, that is just a place that should be a peaceful place for you. And you don't have to take it. And that's the catch to it. You can't take it, which that's a good thing. Look at how miserable people are when they do take it. I mean, look in the book of Proverbs in your Bible. It consistently says things like, stay away from the angry man or woman. Avoid these situations. The entire book of Proverbs is really a guide on how you should live your life. It says, don't deal with the angry man or woman because you're going to ensnare their ways. You're going to become like them. Or for those that don't become like them, they have complete breakdowns, and some of them end up spending the rest of their life in mental institutions or state hospitals. That can also be the side effect. And you don't want that. I'd rather be the one that fought back for a day and did a couple of nights in the jail than have to spend my entire life in the mental ward. Okay, but all of these side effects are very uncomfortable. Even spending the 2 nights or the 1 hour or 1 night in jail. So what you got to do is avoid these situations. And it doesn't matter, they're gonna say stuff. Men and women, youth, teenagers, when they know, okay, well, I can't go back to auntie and uncle's house. I stole from them. I cussed at them. I slapped grandma and grandpa upside the head and stuff like that, and you're not allowed back in the home. They're going to sit from the outside. Some of them will be in shelters or other places. They're going to talk from the outside. Well, they're mean. That's just a mean-hearted person. That's a cold-hearted something. You know, they'll call you whatever. Some of them actually call you names. Some of them will call you names to your face over the phone. And so you got to go back to the book of Proverbs. I might start doing some reading from the book of Proverbs because it's a very positive part of the Bible. And I'm not going to lie, y'all. I don't like violence and stuff. Like a lot of passages out of these religious books are very graphic, and I know for sure ain't no Lord told us to do that. Ain't no Lord told us to stone people to death when they commit adultery. And to be honest, you know, you see a lot of kickback with the Quran, but it's in the Bible too. And so you gotta really, when you're online and they're telling you, okay, this is the negative passage in the Quran, you can look up the same information about some toxic passages in that Bible. So you got to understand that those particular scriptures or surahs, those are definitely man-made. Or it's a historical reference of what they were doing at that time. We got to understand that that's not how we behave now. We're not savages. We're not barbarics. So if someone's cheating on you and they're committing adultery, you just file for divorce now. You don't get in the middle of the street and stone them to death and stuff like that, because the commandment says, do not kill. And when you're doing that to somebody, you could kill them. Even if you don't try to kill them, or it's not your intent to kill them, you know, you're thinking, okay, well, if I hit this person with these objects, they're going to live, but they won't. And some people just can't take that. So this overall ministry in general, and I'm going to be doing a lot more uploading on my ministry channel so that I can help more. And, you know, you see I'm back on here with some new music, y'all. I wanted to get myself together, get my health together, and just try to bring some substance to here. You know, this is not a make me come to this channel. This is I need to want to come to this channel. I need to have something to share, and I needed to walk through my own trial and tribulation so I could come back and give you this information. So in turn, what I'm saying is this: it's okay not to be able to take it. It's okay that you're judged for it. It's okay. If you know you can't take it, you just can't take it. You know, you got to know your heart and soul. Like, I got to know in my heart, I love this particular son. I love this particular daughter. But if I got this particular daughter blocking me on some messenger, I got this particular son that want to act out and be violent, and they got all these issues, and the number one issue they have is this: they're not following the way the Lord will want them to behave. And see, the way the Lord wants your adult children to behave, or your teenage children and your youth, is in a way that's of respect and submission towards their parents. But see, remember, people make choices. And remember, making it into the gates of heaven, the passageway will be narrow to that. The Bible says few will make it there. And the few could be your children that you gave birth to. Out of 8 of your children, only 2 of them may enter heaven. Or what about this? None of them may enter. You may enter heaven and none of your children enter or be allowed to enter. Because heaven is not something where they're going to be deciding that they can enter in it. Heaven and hell is something that you're told you go to. So that's another thing with adult children and things like that. They want to take power over their parents, but they have no power over the Lord. They just don't. And so these are the situations. I mean, biblically, they're called disobedient children. And I mean, you did the best you could do. You shouldn't be able to take it. If you got one running their mouth, talking crazy, trying to not throw out the garbage, and on top of it, add more trash to the house, you ain't got to be bothered with that. And then bringing their violent nature with them. Because to be quite frank, a lot of this stuff is genetic that they're going to be inheriting from those psychopathic parents or parent. So you're going to be thinking, well, I tried my best with little Johnny and little Sally, and they still turned out messed up. Because they have to take the genetics from the other parent too. You can teach a lion to be a bird, but a lion and a lioness, they're going to be predators no matter what. You're trying to teach these aggressive, predatory animals to be like poodles, and they're not poodles. So just understand that, or come to the conclusion where you don't care so much. But I just wanted to let you know and share some of what I'm going through, because it's harsh, you know, when you're called that a-hole or whatever, you know, it bothers you to a certain degree, but you got to use logic and reasoning to say, hey, that's just what I got to be looked at. Because I mean, I can't have you in my home, man or miss. This is something I work for. And that does matter. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of the reason these youth and teenagers and young adults develop this narcissistic attitude, and if they're narcissistic, they're not full-blown narcissists. They're like that because they ain't never worked for nothing, y'all. They ain't worked for nothing. They ain't earned nothing. They ain't worked 2 to 3 jobs to still have a low credit score and have a low enough credit score that's still good enough to be able to rent or buy something. A lot of times they've never been on a deed of trust. They've never been on a rental lease. And the leases that they were on there because their parents put them there. And you don't have to work to be a minor on a lease. I mean, you may be working as far as like helping your parent out in that sense, but you didn't actually work that job. Your parent or guardians did that. And so I am standing firm in things that I can't take. If I can't take it, I can't take it. And then I got to reference back to biblical materials that also tell me I shouldn't be taking it. Because that's what the book of Proverbs is repeatedly telling you, that you shouldn't be taking this stuff. It doesn't say stand there and talk to the angry man or woman all day and night till you can get them calmed down. It says stay away, remove yourself so that you do not ensnare their ways, so you don't become them or start behaving like them. And see, you got to remember that a lot of what we're going to be judged on is based on our behavior. When that time comes, when the angel of death is sent to remove your soul from your body, that soul is going to be placed in the place it should be in based on most of how you behave. How did you treat people? Did you love yourself enough to avoid these situations? Did you pray? Did you love the Lord? Did you work on yourself? Did you have others back in situations where you could have had their back and you could have supported them and they were non-violent towards you? How did you treat the people that wasn't in your house fighting you? Did you go get one of them out of jail? Did you go to court to help that person that wasn't as aggressive as these other people? You know, you got to remember that too. You don't want to take what these abusers do out on the good people. And a lot of times your kids are going to call that favoritism. You know, they're going to be like, well, mom and dad, you helped that brother or sister. Well, he didn't come over here with a skillet and tell me, or she didn't come over here with a skillet and tell me that he or she gonna knock me upside my head. Yeah, I loaned your brother or sister some money, because they don't act like you. And that's the whole game, that narcissistic game of you got the favorite and I'm not the favorite. When ultimately they want to make you feel like the favorite. And then a lot of y'all gonna have estranged children. They mamas and daddies won't let them talk to you and see you. Then they send them to these therapists, and these therapists teach your son and daughter to talk crazy to you. You know, it's like the child is leading the relationship. And a lot of these children, because they have these psychopathic parents that won't let them be around the empathic moms and dads, they just got a nightmare waiting to come. That's all. But a lot of y'all gonna have to not take that situation. You got that son or daughter and you don't have primary custody. That adult or teen son or daughter doesn't live with you, and their mothers and fathers brainwash them. You got to just keep on doing your work and your business. You can't get too tied up in there. You can't take that situation, because it's nothing you're going to be able to do about it, because basically it's like the demonic energies have taken over the mind of your son or daughter anyway. Because the whole goal is to get them in hell anyway. That's what evil demonic forces want. They don't want well for your son or daughter. So you can't take that situation. All you can do is pray about it. Because you're just the abuse victim of your own teenage adult son or daughter. You're just the abuse victim. And the beauty of it is to recognize what's happening. That's your gift right there. Is to say, that other mother or father is a manipulator. They're brainwashing my son or daughter. Some of y'all, you got to tell your kids that. You got to go to your son or daughter and say, you know what that therapist told you is really ungodly. Because some of them calling you, you know, my therapist told me to tell you to kiss my behind. And you're like, what? Your therapist told you what? Like, I'm your dad, man, or miss, I'm your mom. Miss or mister? Your therapist told you that? Well, my Bible says you're not supposed to do that. And a lot of times that's your fight back. You got to base it on those biblical principles of right and wrong. And in those type of cases, you're not going to be judged by the Lord for being an unfit parent. If you're not allowed to be their parent, some of y'all got restraining orders and things like that. If you're not allowed to be their parent, if this adult child has you blocked and, you know, you can't get through to even send them a message, you don't have their phone numbers, you don't know where they live, you know, you're not judged as being a bad parent when there's all these barriers where you can't be the parent. So trust me, you'll get a pass from the Lord on that. The only parents that will be judged for being horrible parents is parents that refuse to be parents. And that's not what happened. You didn't refuse to be a parent. And it's so many people. I'm speaking about this because it's so many people that are going to be in these situations. It's common now. I mean, back in the day, people used to be scared to tell somebody, well, I can't see my kids. It's so common now. I go to the coffee shop and I've had very open conversations with people of different races, mothers and fathers that it happens to, because the court system allows the abuse. That's where it's coming from, because it's all a money thing. All of this therapy and taking one another to court, it's all about money. The courts are getting big payouts from this. Lawyers are getting big payouts. Therapists are getting big payouts. Mentors also. Now you got all these disrespectful mentorship programs. They'll show up at your kid's school without permission and ask your child if you want to go. I mean, it's just all a bunch of disrespect. Because parents are considered the problem now. And so nobody's being allowed to properly parent because of all these barriers. And in turn, they grow up as adults. These children grow up as adults and they suffer the biggest mental issues and consequences of what these other adults that are psychopaths do. And a lot of these psychopaths, they don't believe in no Lord. That's why they're able to do what they do to you. They don't care nothing about the Lord. Some of y'all done told them, that's not biblical. That's wrong what you doing to our child. They don't care. Because what happens too, they get with these new spouses, whether it be they with a man or a woman, they get with these new spouses and the new spouse tells them to do it because they're jealous of y'all child and the relationship that you had with your ex. And this happens to men and women. And you just can't take it. Move on with your life. You got something else to do. Because at the end of the day, these brainwashed adult children or these violent adult children, they're not in your home. And so the Lord has left space for you to do something else with your life. And it's not to sit up and harp on these people. You got to just find something else to do. And so I'm very grateful to be on my ministry channel doing this video. The entire time I've been on this bike, y'all. So I've been on this bike over 33 minutes. I'm going to continue to keep this blood pressure down. I'm actually, since I did such a great job getting my blood pressure down through exercise, I did it without creating a journal, y'all. I'm actually going to start creating a journal of my progress and the process that I'm going through so that I can make sure I stay on top of this and I don't backslide. And the bottom line is pretty much every day I'm on this bike or walking. When I first was doing my exercise bike, y'all, I was having some kind of like inflammation in my knee. And I took a few ibuprofen, so that cleared up, And so, so if you get those aches and pains, you might have to take something for the inflammation. And no, I advise you, don't wait for inflammation to just go away. It's kind of like this, y'all. Inflammation, inflamed. It's inflamed, y'all. If there was a fire in the kitchen, do you just wait for it to put itself out? No. You go spray that down and get that fire out quick. You get rid of it quickly because it's on fire. And that's what your body is when you're having inflammation. It's on fire. Take the ibuprofen and plenty of water or whatever you take. I think some people take naproxen. I don't take it often. However, I'm not waiting on an inflamed knee to go down. That can cause you a lot of health problems, y'all. You got to put it out. To be honest, the inflammation for me, it just won't go away on its own fast enough. And my knee can get inflamed to the point where I can't walk on it. Okay, so you got to know when to take medicine and when not to take medicine. I'm not going to take ibuprofen too often. Some people are allergic to it. So you got to find what else will get rid of that inflammation. However, I will never advise you to get rid of inflammation over time because it's on fire, y'all. That's why it's called inflammation. It's inflamed. It's on fire. Sometimes you will feel it burning. Your knee is burning. It's on fire. So this is just my health tip for this video. I love y'all so much. Tune in for more with Irene's Ministry channel. And I got so many more videos coming for you. And I hope you enjoyed my new background music. And I hope it uplifted your spirit and kept you awake while you were listening to me. And share this video because there's going to be people that you're going to know that are going through these exact same situations. It's so common now. We don't have to keep it a secret no more. Just because your son or daughter is estranged from you, don't make you a bad man or woman. You keep living for the Lord. You can't control who else that want to go to heaven. You only control yourself. And I gave the example earlier. You could have 8 kids, 8 adult children. They grow up, they're going to pass away just like we are. And maybe only 2 of them enter into or be accepted into the gates of heaven. Sometimes none of them. And once that happens, just so you know, when you're accepted into heaven and your relatives are not, the memory of those relatives are removed from your mind. So you're accepted into heaven with no memory of the relatives that didn't come to heaven with you. Because the Lord not going to have a bunch of people up in heaven mad because they didn't let their little brothers and sisters and big cousins or big brothers and sisters and all of that or whoever else, their grandparents into heaven. So that's why it's important that we all work towards going to heaven. So 1 or 2 of us is not taken and you're made to not remember your relatives that were on earth. Because a lot of your earthly life, not every part of your earthly life, once you go to heaven, will be in a loud memory from the Lord. And just do some studying on that. This is just something that I've read a lot of materials. I go much deeper than just the Bible. Because to be quite frank, everything ain't in your Bible. You got to study many different things so that sometimes what's in that Bible makes more sense. Because sometimes you're reading something in your Bible and you're like, seems like something missing here. And so you may have to go to another source so they can explain that better. Sometimes you're reading something in that Bible or Quran or whatever religious materials you're using and you really don't know what it really means or what it's trying to say. So you need to get somebody to interpret that for you. I don't judge people for what they read or don't read. It's just that I have a solid foundation of what I'm supposed to be doing. And I've been on this video almost 40 minutes now. And so I'm getting my time served with the Lord. And if this is how I want to get my time served with the Lord through teaching, mentoring, and ministering, and somebody else wants to get their time served with the Lord reading for 40 minutes, we're both getting our time served. I don't believe I'm going to no hell because I chose to do this ministry video versus somebody else chose to read. Because I ain't did no other sins today. I ain't did a lot of stuff. I ain't stole nothing. I ain't did none of that today, okay? I ain't went out there and disrespected my neighbor. One of the commandments is love thy neighbor. I ain't did none of that. I respected everyone that came into my presence today as the Lord would want me to do. So So I do need to be on my ministry channel more so that I can get the time served with the Lord, because the Lord loves leadership. I'm not claiming I'm no preacher. I'm just mentoring, teaching, and guiding. That's all. What the Lord allows women to do. Biblically also. Okay? Anyway, I love y'all so much. I really love the music, y'all. It kept me awake. It motivated me. It almost helped encourage me. And it allowed the angels to help tell me what to say. Because what I'm saying, coming from the angels and the Lord, without the Spirit of the Lord, I wouldn't be able to talk and say nothing. What would I say? I wouldn't know what to say. Okay? So anyway, please like, share, and subscribe. I love y'all so much. Tune in for more from Irene's Ministry channel. Thank you. Bye.